If you're over 60, I'd be willing to bet there is a yellow, translucent bottle of fish oil sitting in your kitchen cabinet right now. You take it because you want to stay sharp. You take it because you're worried about memory slips, senior moments, or the terrifying thought of losing your cognitive independence. But I'm going to start today with a statement that might shock you. For the majority of seniors, standard fish oil is a waste of money. I know, that sounds bold. Every doctor and news anchor has told you to take it. But the science has evolved, and the supplement industry is still selling you technology from the 1980s. You see, your brain isn't just a sponge that soaks up whatever you swallow. It is guarded by the most sophisticated security system in the universe. Standard fish oil is like trying to deliver a package to a high-security penthouse, but you're leaving it on the sidewalk in front of the lobby. It never gets up the elevator. Today, I am going to show you the VIP key that actually gets through. We are going to talk about the phospholipid secret that can literally change the fluidity of your brain cells in as little as 30 days. To truly understand why your current supplement might be failing you, we have to look at the most sophisticated security system in the known universe. It's called the blood-brain barrier, BBB. Now, imagine for a moment that your brain is a world-class museum. Let's call it the museum of your life. Inside this museum are the most priceless works of art ever created. Your memories of your wedding day, the sound of your children's laughter, the skills you've spent decades mastering, and the very essence of your personality. Because this museum is so precious, your body doesn't just let any blood-borne molecule wander inside. If it did, every virus, toxin, or stray chemical you encountered would wreak havoc on your neurons. So, your body installed a bouncer. This bouncer isn't a person, of course. It's a physical wall. The blood vessels in your brain are lined with specialized cells called endothelial cells. In the rest of your body, these cells are loosely packed, allowing nutrients to leak out to your muscles and skin easily. But in the brain, these cells are knitted together with what scientists call tight junctions. There are no gaps. There are no holes. To get into the brain, a molecule cannot simply leak in. It must be specifically invited and escorted across. This is where the tragedy of standard fish oil begins. Most fish oil supplements on the shelf today come in two molecular forms: triglycerides, the natural form, or ethyl esters, the concentrated synthetic form. Think of these oils like a delivery truck full of bricks. These bricks, DHA and EPA, are exactly what the brain needs to repair its walls. But the truck arrives at the museum's loading dock, and the bouncer looks at the paperwork. The bouncer says, "I see you have the bricks, but you don't have the right molecular passport. I don't recognize this delivery company." You see, the blood-brain barrier does not have a docking station for simple triglyceride oils. It is looking for a very specific delivery vehicle called a phospholipid. When you were 20 years old, this wasn't a problem. At 20, your liver was a high-speed, 24-hour manufacturing plant. You could swallow that cheap, big-box store fish oil, and your liver would diligently take those triglyceride bricks, break them down, and repackage them into phospholipid VIP passes. It was efficient. It was fast. But now, you're over 60, and let's be honest, the factory has seen better days. As we age, our production of the specific enzymes required to phospholipidize fish oil begins to drop. The machinery is slower. The workers are on break. When you swallow that standard fish oil now, your liver struggles to repackage it. So what happens to all that fish oil you're taking? It doesn't just disappear. It stays in your bloodstream. It circulates around and around. It might help your heart health by lowering your triglycerides, which is great, and it might even help lubricate your joints. But as it passes by the brain, it just keeps moving. The brain is looking out through the window, starving for that DHA, watching the delivery trucks go by, but unable to open the door because the passport is missing. This is what I call nutritional ghosting. You are taking the supplement, you are spending the money, but your neurons aren't getting a single drop. This is why the form of omega-3 you choose after 60 is more important than the dose. If you provide your body with pre-packaged phospholipid omega-3s, the kind found in krill oil or wild-caught fish roe, you are bypassing the tired liver factory entirely. You are handing the bouncer the exact passport he is looking for. No conversion required. No liver work needed. It's like a priority courier that goes straight from the stomach, through the blood, and right across that high-security barrier. In the next section, I'm going to show you the specific elevator inside the brain that only picks up these phospholipids. Once you see how this elevator works, you will never look at a standard yellow fish oil capsule the same way again. Now, I want to take you inside the laboratory. I want to show you the missing link that science only recently discovered. For decades, researchers were baffled. They knew the brain needed DHA, the main omega-3 fatty acid, but they couldn't figure out exactly how it got there. Then, in 2014, a landmark study changed everything. Researchers identified a gatekeeper protein with a very technical name, Mfsd2a. I want you to imagine the blood-brain barrier as a high-security skyscraper. Standard nutrients have to wait in line at the front door. But the brain, being the most important organ in the body, has a private, high-speed elevator located at the back of the building. This elevator is Mfsd2a. This elevator doesn't just take anyone. It is programmed with a very specific facial recognition software. It is looking for one molecule and one molecule only, LPC-DHA, lysophosphatidylcholine. Let's break that word down because it sounds intimidating, but it's actually beautiful. DHA is the brick, the actual omega-3 fat. Lysophosphatidylcholine, LPC, is the escort. When DHA is attached to this LPC escort, it creates a molecule that is both fat-soluble and water-soluble. It is the universal key. If you take standard fish oil, you are sending naked DHA to the brain. The Mfsd2a Elevator looks at it and says, "Where is your escort? You aren't on the list." And just like that, the most important nutrient for your cognitive health is sent back into the general circulation, eventually being stored as body fat or used by your muscles, but never reaching your neurons. Now, let's talk about why this is a life or death matter for your independence after age 60. As we age, our brains undergo a process called brain atrophy. It's a polite way of saying the brain is physically shrinking. Why does it shrink? Because the membranes, the skin of your brain cells are made of fats. Specifically, they are made of DHA. Think of a brand new rubber band. It's stretchy, it's flexible, and it works perfectly. That is a brain cell membrane full of fresh LPC-DHA. Now, think of a rubber band that has been sitting in a drawer for 30 years. It's dry, it's brittle, and the moment you stretch it, it cracks. That is a brain cell without enough phospholipid DHA. When your cell membranes become brittle, your brain can't send electrical signals effectively. Your neurotransmitters, the mailmen of your brain, can't deliver their messages because the doors to the cells are stuck shut. This is the biological reality of brain fog. It's not a lack of intelligence. It's a mechanical failure of the hardware. By choosing an omega-3 source that is already in the phospholipid form, like krill oil or wild-caught fish roe, you are essentially performing hardware maintenance. You aren't just taking a pill. You are sending a construction crew directly up the Mfsd2a elevator with a fresh supply of pliant fats. You are greasing the gears of your thoughts. You are replacing those brittle rubber bands with fresh, elastic ones. This is why some seniors who make this switch report feeling brighter or clearer in just a few weeks. They haven't grown a new brain. They've simply repaired the insulation on the one they have. In the next section, we are going to look at the rancidity crisis, because even if you have the right passport, if the bricks are rotten, your brain will still reject the delivery. We need to make sure your fuel is fresh. Let's take a moment to step away from the medical jargon and do a kitchen science experiment in our minds. This experiment will explain, once and for all, why you feel the way you do after taking your supplements. Imagine you have 2 glasses of water sitting on your kitchen counter. In the first glass, you take a standard capsule of high-grade fish oil, prick it with a needle, and squeeze the contents into the water. What do you see? The oil immediately beads up. It forms large, yellowish droplets that defiantly float to the very top. No matter how much you stir that glass, the oil and water remain separate. In science, we call this hydrophobic, literally meaning water-fearing. Now, why does this matter for a person over 60? Because your body is roughly 70% water. Your stomach is filled with gastric juices that are primarily water-based. When you swallow a standard fish oil pill, it doesn't just dissolve and disappear. It sits in your stomach like an oil slick on the surface of the ocean. It floats right on top of your stomach acid. This is the physical reason behind the fishy burp. As your stomach moves and churns to digest your dinner, that oil slick sits right at the exit, the esophagus. Every time a bit of gas escapes, it carries the scent of that floating, oxidizing oil with it. It's uncomfortable, it's unpleasant, and it's a sign that your body is struggling to break that fat down into something it can actually use. Now, let's look at the second glass. In this glass, you squeeze a capsule of phospholipid-bound omega-3, like the kind found in krill oil. The moment that deep red oil hits the water, something magical happens. It doesn't float. It disperses. It turns the water a cloudy, pinkish hue. It emulsifies. This is because phospholipids are hydrophilic, water-loving. Because this oil loves water, it doesn't sit on top of your stomach acid. It mixes with it. It travels with your food, not on top of it. This is why high-quality krill oil or fish roe almost never causes fishy burps. It's already starting the absorption process before it even leaves your stomach. But the battle doesn't end in the stomach. The real war is won in the small intestine. Standard fish oil requires a massive amount of work from your gallbladder and your pancreas. Your body has to produce bile and enzymes to break those large triglyceride droplets into tiny pieces so they can pass through the intestinal wall. As we age, our gallbladder and pancreas often become less enthusiastic. We produce fewer digestive enzymes. This is why many seniors find that they can't eat like they used to. However, phospholipids are different. Because they are already emulsified, they don't need a heavy hit of bile. They are absorbed through a different pathway. They enter the express lane of your lymphatic system. In clinical studies, this phospholipid form has been shown to be up to 40% more effective at raising DHA levels in the brain compared to standard fish oil. I want you to think about that number, 40%. If you were a professional athlete, a 40% increase in performance would be the difference between a gold medal and last place. For you, at age 60, 70, or 80, that 40% is the difference between recalling a name in 2 seconds versus 20 seconds, following a complex conversation in a loud restaurant versus feeling lost, feeling sharp and present versus feeling like you're living behind a foggy pane of glass. You don't need more oil. You need smarter oil. You need a molecular structure that works with your aging digestive system, not against it. In the next section, we're going to talk about the brain drain and why your neurons are physically changing as you watch this video. Let's have a heart-to-heart. Why are we having this conversation today, right now, and not 20 or 30 years ago? When you were 40, you could afford to be a bit careless with your nutrition. Your body had metabolic flexibility. But as we cross the threshold of 60, the biological landscape of our brain changes fundamentally. We enter a phase that scientists are now calling inflammaging. It is exactly what it sounds like, a chronic, low-grade, smoldering inflammation that happens as our immune system gets older. Think of it like a slow-moving brush fire in the background of your biology. It doesn't cause a fever that you can feel, but it is constantly toasting your delicate tissues. Now, why is this a disaster for your brain? Because your brain is 60% fat. It is the fattiest organ in your body. And just like the butter sitting on your kitchen counter, fat can go rancid. When inflammaging meets the fats in your brain, a process occurs called lipid peroxidation. In plain English, your brain fats are rusting. Imagine the hinges on an old iron gate. When they are new and oiled, the gate swings open with the touch of a finger. But if you let that gate sit in the rain for 10 years, rust builds up. To open it, you have to push, strain, and listen to that awful metal-on-metal screech. This is what is happening to your neurons. Your brain cells communicate by sending electrical signals across their membranes. For that signal to move fast, the membrane must be fluid. It must be oily, flexible, and soft. But when inflammaging rusts those fats, the membrane becomes stiff. It becomes brittle. Think of your brain's communication network like a Wi-Fi signal. When your membranes are packed with fresh, phospholipid-bound DHA, your brain Wi-Fi is 5G. The connection is instant. You want to remember the name of that neighbor you met 3 years ago? Zip. There it is. You want to calculate the tip at a restaurant? Zap. The numbers crunch instantly. You feel switched on. But when those membranes are rusty and stiff, you drop down to dial-up speeds. You know the feeling. You walk into the kitchen, you stand in front of the refrigerator, and you think, why am I here? The signal was sent. Your router, your intent, fired the message, but it got lost in the stiff circuitry of your prefrontal cortex. The signal couldn't penetrate the brittle membrane of the receiving cell. It timed out. This is the brain drain. It isn't that your memories are gone. It's that the cables are frayed and the doors are rusted shut. This is why I am so adamant about the phospholipid form. Standard fish oil has to go through a massive refinery process in your body to be turned into the oil that can fix those hinges. But after 60, your refinery is low on staff. By taking the phospholipid form, you are delivering pre-oiled parts directly to the site of the fire. You are giving your brain the exact molecular bricks it needs to rebuild those cell walls as they are being damaged. You are essentially painting over the rust with a high-performance, anti-corrosive coating. You are upgrading your brain's hardware from that old, creaky dial-up modem back to a high-speed fiber optic connection. When you start providing the right fats, you'll notice something. The lags start to disappear. You stop losing your train of thought mid-sentence. You feel like the lights are back on in the rooms of your mind. In the next section, we're going to look at the synergy diet because we need to make sure you aren't accidentally pouring gasoline on the very fire we're trying to put out. I want you to imagine you are walking down the aisle of your local health food store. You reach the brain health section and your eyes glaze over. There are 50 different bottles, all with pictures of leaping krill, pristine Antarctic icebergs, and bold claims about maximum strength. But here is a secret the supplement industry doesn't want you to know. The front of the bottle is meant to sell you. The back of the bottle is meant to tell you. If you are over 60, you cannot afford to waste your money on filler oils. Every milligram you swallow needs to be working toward your cognitive longevity. Here is your master consumer deep dive checklist to ensure you are buying brain fuel, not snake oil. The first thing I want you to do is turn that bottle around. Ignore the 2,000 milligrams claim on the front. That 2,000 milligrams usually refers to the total oil, which is a meaningless number. I want you to look at the supplement facts panel. You are looking for a specific line item that says phospholipids. If a company is proud of their product, they will list this number clearly. You are looking for a minimum of 400 milligrams to 500 milligrams of phospholipids per serving. Why? Because if that number isn't there, or if it's very low, like 50 milligrams, you are looking at a blended oil. Many manufacturers take a tiny drop of expensive krill oil and mix it with 90% cheap, industrial-grade fish oil. They then put a picture of krill on the front to trick you. This is called window dressing. They are giving you the label of krill without the molecular power of krill. If they don't list the phospholipid count, put it back on the shelf. You are a sophisticated consumer. Don't let them ghost you with vague ingredients. Krill oil has a distinct, deep red color. That isn't a dye. It is a naturally occurring miracle molecule called astaxanthin. Think of astaxanthin as the bodyguard for your omega-3s. As we discussed earlier, omega-3 fats are incredibly fragile. They want to rust the moment they see oxygen. Astaxanthin is the most powerful antioxidant known to man. It sits inside the oil and prevents it from oxidizing. But it does something even more incredible for your brain. Astaxanthin is one of the few antioxidants that can also cross the blood-brain barrier. So, when you take a high-quality krill oil, you aren't just getting the bricks, DHA, for your brain cells. You are also getting a security team, astaxanthin, that travels into your brain to mop up the oxidative stress we talked about in the inflammaging section. Check the label for the astaxanthin count. You want to see at least 100 micrograms to 300 micrograms. If the capsules are a pale yellow or light orange, they are either old, oxidized, or heavily diluted. You want that deep, ruby red. That is the color of brain protection. I want you to use your most basic biological sensor, your nose. When you get your supplement home and open the bottle, give it a sniff. A high-quality phospholipid oil should smell like the ocean, briny, slightly salty, and clean. It should not smell like a fish market at 5 p.m. on a Friday. If you open that bottle and a wave of rotten or rancid odor hits you, that oil is already dead. It has been sitting in a hot warehouse or on a shipping dock for too long. When oil goes rancid, its molecular structure changes. It becomes pro-inflammatory. Instead of oiling the hinges of your brain, rancid oil actually pours gasoline on the inflammaging fire. If it smells bad, do not swallow it. Take it back to the store and demand a refund. Your brain is a high-performance machine. Don't put sludge in the gas tank. Finally, look for a small logo that says IKOS, International Krill Oil Standards. Because the supplement industry is loosely regulated, companies can say almost anything they want. The IKOS seal means a third-party laboratory has tested that specific batch for three things. 1. Purity. No heavy metals like mercury or lead. 2. Potency. Does it actually have the DHA it claims? 3. Freshness. Is the oxidation level low? For a senior over 60, your toxic load is something we have to manage carefully. You don't want to be taking mercury with your omega-3s. Look for the seal, verify the phospholipids, and trust your nose. In the next section, we are going to look at the synergy diet, because what you eat with your supplements can either supercharge them or block them entirely. We're going to clear the parking lot of your brain. You can take the best supplement in the world, but if your diet is a firestorm of inflammation, it won't work. In the modern diet, we eat too much omega-6, found in soybean oil, corn oil, and canola oil. Omega-6 and omega-3 compete for the same parking spots in your brain cells. If your parking lot is full of cheap soybean oil, your expensive krill oil has nowhere to go. I want you to audit your pantry. If you see vegetable oil or Crisco, throw them out. Replace them with extra virgin olive oil. Olive oil contains oleocanthal, which helps clear the plaques out of the brain, making it even easier for your new omega-3s to get to work. I don't want you to just buy a bottle. I want you to commit to a 90-day transformation. Your brain cells take about 3 months to fully turn over their fat content. That means the brain you have today is made of what you ate 90 days ago. Imagine 90 days from now. You're finishing the crossword puzzle faster. You're remembering the names of actors in movies without having to look them up. You feel a brightness in your thinking that you haven't felt since your 50s. That isn't a pipe dream. It is biological reality when you give the body the right tools. If you're ready to take the 90-day brain challenge, type SHARP in the comments. Let's build a community of seniors who refuse to let their minds fade. Hit that subscribe button because in my next video, I'm showing you the 3 morning exercises for brain blood flow. I'm Adam Smith, and I'll see you in the next one.